Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's Orbit Live event with two outstanding science fiction authors. I'm really excited to have them both with us virtually tonight. Megan E. O'Keefe is the author of the Protectorate series. The second book, Chaos Vector, is out today in the US. You can catch up by reading Book 1, Velocity Weapon, if you haven't already. And Alex White is the author of the Salvagers series. The third book, The Worst of All Possible Worlds, is also out today in the US. So happy book birthday to Megan and Alex. You can catch up with the first two books of the Salvagers series, which are A Big Ship at the Edge of the Universe and A Bad Deal for the Whole Galaxy. Throughout the event tonight, Megan and Alex will be answering your questions. I see that one of you has already entered a question down there using the Ask a Question button at the bottom of the screen. Keep them coming. You can also vote on your fellow audience members' questions so that the most popular questions get answered first. This event is being recorded, and a replay will be available after it's over. So if you aren't able to stay for the full event, you can watch the replay and you can share it with your friends or followers using the same link that you did to enter today. Follow Orbit Live on Crowdcast to be notified about upcoming events with more great authors. We have an event next week. We have one the week after that. We're keeping very busy. We hope you'll join us. And now I'm very happy to turn the event over to Megan and Alex. Take it away.
Well, hey, everybody.
Hello. Hi. It's good to see you all in virtual space.
Yeah, I don't actually think I can see everybody, Megan, but maybe you can. I don't know.
I just see tiny little icons, which is about all I see nowadays anyway, so that's fine. Those are people, as far as I'm concerned.
That's Essa Hansen.
It is. See, Essa. Hi, Essa. Thank you.
How's it going? Yeah, so I'd like to let you introduce yourself first, if that's okay, Megan.
Yeah, sure. So I already have a question in the queue here. Somebody asked if Chaos Vector would have the hardcover edition, same as Velocity Weapon, and the answer to that question is yes. I'm not allowed to tell you the date on that just quite yet, but so I hate to be a little mysterious about the first question, but it's coming at some point. There will be a hardcover.
Definitely. Let's see here. Essa asks us, did you have your whole trilogy in mind when you started the first book? And how much of that plot has changed along the way? When I started the Salvagers, I did not have the entire trilogy in mind. I had the first book in mind because that was all I was interested in trying to sell. And then it was like, if I sell it, I'm allowing myself to kind of think about it. And I did create a lot of avenues kind of going forward. And I said, if I were to get a 3-book deal, this is what I would do. And it was such an amazing delight when it actually happened that it was like, oh no, I better write like a real outline like now,
Yeah.
Yeah, this was I got the call from my agent, and he said, their response was, how fast can you write these? And I was like, oh no.
I mean, that's always a good question to be asked.
Yeah, no kidding. How about you?
Oh, so I mean, I did there's this magic phrase in our industry called standalone with serious potential. And that's what I used when I was pitching the book.
That's a great one.
Yeah, so, and I don't know, for anybody who's read Velocity Weapon, that's partially a lie. Like you really need sequels from that book. So I definitely, I had a 3-book plan in mind. I wasn't sure when I was going to get it. Luckily, that ended up happening, which is great. And I actually got the call when I was in Tokyo on my honeymoon. Yeah, my agent called me and he's like, yeah, they offered, they're really excited, they want the 3 books. And I'm like, okay, that's great, but you can't have summaries for 3 weeks because I don't, I'm not home. This is wonderful, but it's gonna have to wait. So.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. I lost a voice acting audition a long time ago for my honeymoon, and they never called me back. It was for an anime that I really wanted to be on, and they never called back.
Ooh. Luckily,
I told them it was for a honeymoon too. Oh yes, Breed is the best. I wish Breed were here. Is Breed here?
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. She
my little tile arrangement is very strange. Things keep popping around.
Lois A. Young says, Alex. Oh wait, you take this next one. My bad.
Oh, where is it? Okay. So Lois A. Young.
Do a different one.
Oh, different one? Okay. Oh god, this is loaded. EB asks, would you want to live on the spaceships in your books, or would it be too dangerous / scary?
Yes.
Um,
Yes, Megan. Would you like to
big
live
hard
in
no. No, my spaceship is a toddler in a giant weapons body, and that's not fun. You don't want to live on that. He's a very sweet person, just not fun to live on.
No, I don't want to live inside of any of my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I would want to. I don't think I would want to live on the Capricious because it's about the size of my house, is what I used to think. But for the past 4 months, it's been about. Yeah, I could live on the Capricious.
Yeah, slowly adjusting.
Yeah, I'm getting used to it. So, the reason I'll take this is because it's addressed to me. Alex, I know you're going to be writing a new space opera trilogy. Oh, wait, there's a second. I didn't read far enough. Megan, do you have any ideas? It was for you.
Oh no.
Okay, well, we got to do it now.
Well, I'll just steal it then. Okay.
Yeah, hit it.
Lois A. Young. I do know. I have a proposal for 2 different things in the works with my editor, and I'm also not allowed to talk about them. But they're a space opera, I can say that much. There will be more space opera goodness incoming.
So, EB says, how do you feel about the conflict, or is it a conflict, between scientific accuracy and plotting? Have you ever chosen to do something that's not strictly scientifically accurate because of the story? Yes. Or have you ever had to change the story because you learned something new about the science? You know, I think if it would be rare that I would want to do something like that, but maybe if I learned that the science I'd based the story on were somehow flawed or a lie, like the Stanford prison experiment.
Oh,
you know,
God, yeah.
Right. Or or the thesis behind Alien 3, which is a movie I actually really like, but it's that XY or double X chromosome people are more violent, which we have found is both incorrect and wrong.
And actively harmful to a whole
Exactly.
community of people. Yeah.
Yeah. So no thanks, Alien 3. Yeah. So yeah, I would change the story for science like that, sure. How about you, Megan?
I mean, same. I don't think I've ever actually changed a story, like fundamentally to fit the science. I've edited scenes where I'm like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. Like, they don't have gravity. I need to consider that. But that's not really changing the story. That's just revisions. Yeah. And I definitely ignored science for cool moments. Like, cool moments always win.
Oh, always. Though I will say, I love when you find out some scientific fact that gives you an idea for like a good scene where it's where it's like the opposite, where it's like the science changes the story, but it's not this unwilling conflict. It's like the science came and like licked your story and ran off like a happy animal. Like
well, that's the best. I had a friend who was writing a story about I think I want to say it was Saturn, and we found out like during the course of editing and giving him feedback on the story that it actually can rain diamonds there sometime, and like it totally changed the thing, but it was just so freaking cool. It was just like, okay, yeah, change everything to make that work.
Yeah, we gotta talk about the diamond rain.
Yeah.
You want to take the next one?
Sure. Got from Karen Rochnick. Both series have great titles and book covers. How do you come up with titles? And do you have much input into the cover design? So this is, you have a lot of input and you also don't. Like, they ask you questions about what the cover should look like, what you think it should look like. And then the artist kind of takes it and runs off and does magic, which is perfectly fine with me. I'm delighted by what Sparth did for both of my books. The cover for Chaos Vector in particular is like directly downloaded out of my brain somehow. I don't really know how he did that, but it's awesome. So I'm not complaining how he hacked my brain. The titles, I don't know how Alex had their title situation work out. I had a bunch of back and forth where like I started out suggesting Velocity Weapon. Originally marketing didn't quite like it. We went back and forth, ended up going back to Velocity Weapon. Chaos Vector started out as something else, and that was like a 6-month conversation, I want to say, trying to figure out like what exactly to name that book. So it was a lot of meetings, but we got there, and I'm really happy with it. I think it's cool.
Oh my gosh, it's Evan Winter, author
What?
of Rage of Dragons.
Evan. So Alex, how did you come up with your titles?
Well, first of all, for the first one, it was named something entirely different that wasn't very good, and then they threw it out, and and we went back and forth like, I don't know. Breet and I must have bandied about maybe like 100 titles over like 50 different combinations of themes and crap, and
Yeah.
and you know it was. And then finally the publisher sends back one, and it was a big ship at the edge of the universe, and I was like, thanks, I hate it, you know, like immediately just you know,
Yeah.
because it was nothing like what I had thought.
Mhm.
And then like they sent back this cover with it, and I was like, oh, that's really good.
Yeah, when they're right, they're really right.
Yeah, and so after that it was really easy because it was kind of riffing on that same theme, you know, a big ship at the edge of the
Yeah.
universe, and I thought, you know, it'd be nice to have some colloquialisms. It's good that it's only a 3-book series. I was running out of astronomical based idioms.
Yeah. That does get complicated after a while.
Like, oh, let's call it. I started with puns. We shouldn't have gone down this route. So let's see here. Yes, and as far as cover input, I was given a lot of input, but you know, it's one of those things where they ended up coming up with something totally different, and it's their job to sell my book. And
Right.
when I saw it, I was like, that's beautiful. It's not what I had in mind. I love it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So Kelly Frodel says, how much research went into coming up with the forms of space travel in your books or other pieces of technology?
You want to go first?
Right. That's me going first. I got into like moderator mode. I've moderated a lot of panels recently. So yeah, I did like no research into hyper jumping. I was like, it seems like it takes some time. It takes a plot amount of time, and yeah, a Star Wars worth of time. That is the correct amount, because you know, it's like people don't come to my book, that particular book, for the science. If you want the science, go to the Alien book where there's a Michael Crichton's worth of research. You know, but you know, the Salvagers is about having fun and great character moments and that kind of stuff. So when it came to it, I was like, what would look cool? A jump bubble. That seems kind of neat. I haven't really seen a lot of that. So that's where we went. I did a lot more research in the follow-up space travel for my next series, which is kind of like this like giant robots, jazzy, fun, awesome series. Anyway, the space travel on that was a little bit more researched. I found out that in Alcubierre engine kind of solar scoop type things, you can end up accidentally sucking in a whole lot of solar particles as you move through the space. That can all suddenly be vented, of course, when you exit, which is kind of cool if you think that they maybe would be vented forward into like a planetary magnetic belt, because then you have this cool, like, oh, we came out of hyperdrive and the whole planet went rainbowy.
That's just awesome.
So anyway, yeah, that was my research. Is like I call up my friends with doctorates in physics, and I'm literally like, what would make the coolest fireworks when the ship's coming in?
That is, I mean, that's a valid approach. I would like a rainbow planet. How do I achieve this?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and yeah, and I you know, and I'm always looking for like a different effect, right, than I've seen. It's less about the accuracy, and it's more because I mean, like, they didn't explain how the Falcon got across anything. I don't have to either. You know, so it's less about that, and it's more about how it feels, and being kind of tangentially related to science in a lot of ways, you know. And I think that a lot of that is about what science fiction kind of has always had, right, where it's like non-existent technology that's kind of overlaid with this fun story, you know. So, but at the same time, that deeply meaningful fun story. How about you?
Well, mine So I needed them to do a very specific thing that actually becomes clear in Chaos Vector. So there's a little bit of a mystery there, but the Casimir effect is a real thing. It creates this very broadly negative energy that could allow the possibility of wormholes and that kind of stuff. So I needed it to do the thing in the next book, and I wanted the really cool big visual effect of like this giant ring out in the middle of nowhere. That's very specifically placed inside of the system's gravity well, that kind of stuff. So that was a lot of fun to research for the actual FTL portion of it. When it comes to like in solar system travel, Barrow in particular was a fun thing to research because he is the new shiny technology in the universe, right? He is the thing that no one has seen before. He's basically a take on the ram scoop designs, which is you have a big funnel in front of your ship and it sucks up all the stuff and converts it basically via magic at this point, but converts it somehow, really truly it does.
The same way the Starship Enterprise does, I'm sure.
Right. Converts it via plot energy out the back of the ship, and basically all that energy being moved makes the ship a giant weapon. And apparently I just like really big things for weapons. So that was fun.
Velocity weapon.
Indeed, sir.
So, my question is, Alex, I absolutely love the music you created to accompany a big ship. Oh, thank you. What a fantastic idea to promote and enjoy your book. Oh, by the way, you can download a free soundtrack called Race for the Harrow, music inspired by a big ship at the edge of the universe, on any major streaming service. So, iTunes or whatever, YouTube Music, anything. So Spotify, there you go. Yeah, the tunes, no, they came explicitly for the book. I always wanted to write music, and I always had trouble writing music until I started writing stories, and then it was easier to write like orchestral compositions and eventually rock and roll compositions and EDM compositions around stories, as opposed to trying to say like, what kind of party do I wish I'd gone to last night? Like that's a less easy song for me to write because I don't actually party. This is all just for me. That's the sad part. So anyway, yeah. So the music all came from imagining the characters and kind of trying to create themes around the characters, specific musical cues. And you'll hear, I should say, musical cues repeated throughout the book that are actually indicative of certain characters being on or off the stage. I like to create kind of a Peter and the Wolf kind of situation for my own books. You can also find there's a soundtrack to my debut novel, Every Mountain Made Low, a couple of years ago that came out with Solaris, I think 2016. And I wrote a secret song for the Alien and the Cold Forge release called Wild Dogs, which you can, again, YouTube Alex White Wild Dogs and you'll find it. And it's just one of those moody, it sounds the most like an Aliens piece, which is of course like nonsense if you were to listen to it without a movie next to it. So anyway, yeah, that was where the idea came from. I wanted to promote the books, and I don't think I've really made any money on them. Unfortunately, like you don't get any real money for people listening to it. For people who bought your books, they want like 100,000 listeners worth in a month to kind of. That's when you start making money on things like Spotify. So if that's your goal, you don't do it part-time. Next question.
All right, this is from Andrea Stewart. Hi, Andrea. If a movie was made of your books, what one person would you want attached to the project, be that an actor, director, composer, etc.? This is a question I'm actually really terrible at. I never know who actors are. I know directors' names sort of by reputation. I am truly terrible when it comes to the movie industry.
David Fincher.
David Fincher.
A David Fincher velocity weapon would be awesome.
I put all my faith in you on that. No idea.
Somebody in the crowd back me up on this. David Fincher velocity weapon.
Like the Wachowski sisters would be really cool. I know who they are. That would be fantastic.
That was going to be the one I was going to go for.
Oh, I'm sorry. I take it back.
No, it's okay. You took my. We both want you, Wachowski sisters.
Yeah. Call
if you're
us.
here, if you're in the audience.
Yeah, if you're out there
Let's do it
somewhere.
tonight. I know. That would definitely be that would be it. No, I gotta pick a different one now. Wachowski sisters would nail anything though. So like I'd let them. I'd always be interested in their take. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do another question then.
Okay.
How about that? Okay. Has the shelter in place given you any ideas for more space stories? Being in such a small space and living with just a few people. In fact, we recently moved at the very beginning of this. I'd shuffled jobs and it was time to unfortunately move. And so everything was really temporary. And in that situation, though, I managed to kind of get my studio together and I got myself some of these hue lights with this advance. And I called it, I started calling it the bridge. And so whenever it's like, I got to go down to the bridge and write. And let me tell you, it makes everything just a little bit better. As far as ideas for stories, I find that usually the trauma has to simmer for a couple of years before it starts to really make its way into my work. But sometimes, usually if I'm writing about something that's happening directly to me, it's too unrefined. I need time. And I expect a lot of really great isolation stories to come out of this period in time, unfortunately.
Yeah,
How
I
about
would
you?
agree. Yeah, I'd agree with Alex. I need time to like simmer on things for a while before they start to come out and what I'm actually doing. I mean, so when I wrote Velocity Weapon, obviously I didn't know this was happening because I did it in 2017, and around the time Shelter in Place went into effect, at least here in the Bay Area, we went in earlier than anyone in the U.S. People started finding my chapter heading that said 21 days is a long time to stay inside. I had put in that book, and oops, first of all, but I feel like I've sort of already touched on a lot of those themes in a lot of ways, and I probably won't revisit them for quite a while. That like closed room isolation feeling.
Well, yeah. I think I'm just gonna say thanks to the guy who's right all the time comment, so that Megan can get on to the next one. I really appreciate it. I thank you very much, guy who's right all the time.
That is awesome, and he is correct.
I know that guy in real life. He's pretty right sometimes. I like him a lot. He's a good guy.
Awesome.
How about you,
right.
Megan?
So, am I correct all the time? I don't think so.
I meant the next question.
That's a hard pass, Alex. All right, so an actual question. What science fiction authors / novels? Oh, it disappeared.
Oh, I see.
Yo, you
no.
see it?
Oh no, it was cruelly taken away from me as well.
God. Stripped from my grasp.
Something science fiction novels authors in your works? Influences?
Influences. I think I saw that word. So we'll go with authors / science fiction-y things have influenced you. The Wachowski sisters.
Well, okay, so I would.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have surely you have influences.
No,
but they don't have.
Yeah, it's it's fine. They're mostly book related, like William Gibson, that kind of thing. Peter Watts. I love just about everything he writes.
Can I pivot this question?
Elizabeth Moon.
Do you have influences outside of science fiction that influence your science fiction writing?
Well, I build robots for funsies, so
that's very science
actual robotics as a hobby has definitely influenced it. A little, hobby philosophy reading, that kind of thing, I think becomes pretty clear if you're reading my books. I used to work in an art gallery. I was the assistant curator. And we had a very cool show one year. This was ages ago, but it was a ton of work, all centered around a children's book called The Little Prince. And I used a lot of the themes in that and sort of borrowed a tiny bit of the structure for one of the characters' internal journeys for like the entire arc of the Protectorate series.
Nice.
So that is definitely a non-science fictional influence, I suspect.
Yeah, I like to read a lot of biographies. The Dictator's Handbook was a big influence on me while I was working on this one, because there were things that I agreed and disagreed with about it, but I was certainly like, wow, yeah, I see that happening pretty easily. Okay, I'll write about that. So there are a lot of influences, but maybe not all recent. Yeah, Gibson was definitely an influence on me as well. I told him so in person. I met him at New York Comic Con, and I told him so, and then I immediately felt so trite because I realized that everybody in line was basically in line to say that. I mean, like, if you just listen for like 5 seconds, there was another one, there was another one, there was another one. It was like, oh, okay. I should have said we both wrote alien books. So, okay. Let's see here. When it comes to writing series, which books are more fun to write, the middle books or the final books? Oh, it changed order, but I'm going with it.
Go with it.
Josh Story. Josh, the middle book was more fun to write than the final book, because with the final book, there's a lot of pressure. I had all these things that I'd thrown up into the air, and some of them I want to come down and some of them I don't. You know, I don't want to be like, oh, and then the characters died and magic ended and the universe went on and it's totally closed and no one can ever write that again. Yeah, no, like, you know, like, and so, but at the same time coming up with a satisfying ending where it's like, okay, but we are going to kind of cool this all off. It is over after this book. Oh, Lord. That is just terrifying. And especially because everybody's been so nice about the first two, you know, and it's like, oh, is this the one? You know, kind of. So that second book, as awkward as it was to put on, because I'd also never written a sequel, and I one of the things I hadn't expected about that was that it feels like writing fan fiction of your own stuff in that same kind of like, how trite. I have to rediscover these people's humanity because I've reduced them to a caricature over the course of time that they've been a sale. You know, they were a book sale, and they went from being my family to this like, yeah, they're a success, and this is how I think of the characters. And then I started writing the second book, and it was like, I forgot who they really were. I have to like redo this whole part. But that was more fun than the last book, which is like, oh my God, the pressure. Hey, Megan, aren't you about to start working on another book?
My third book is done, actually. so I can talk about it. Yeah, the third book, Catalyst Gate, is turned in. It is out of my little writerly hands. It has gone well back to my editor. We did the developmental edits already, so we're on the line edits whenever Brie returns. So it was, for me, I had sort of a weird experience writing a third book. My husband, Christmas Day of 2019, my husband needed emergency surgery, and it was life-saving emergency surgery out of nowhere. And it was a lot. And I was in the middle of writing the book, and he was in the hospital for at least a month, possibly into February. Honestly, it's become a blur at this point because we went right from that chaos into COVID chaos. So 2020 has no meaning to me as a unit of time. But when he was in the hospital, I was like, all right, I still have to write this book. So I was literally on the pull-out couch in his hospital room, you know, late into the night writing away. And it was honestly one of the easiest books I'd ever written. And I don't know why. I cannot claim that I planned that to happen, but I had outlined so sufficiently ahead of time that when I came in, I was just sort of knocking over the dominoes I'd already set up. I knew where I was going, I knew what I wanted to do, and that book just sailed. So absolutely the third book, because if I can repeat that sort of flow state experience ever again, I'll be very happy.
I had a book like that once. It was magical. It was like not it wasn't traumatically like that. What I have found is constant psychological trauma just means I have to work 5 times as hard and feel less gratified about it.
Usually that's the case. Yeah.
But you know, the when it comes to the books like that, I mean, I do I've always been kind of hoping for another one of those. Alien: The Cold Forge was that one for me, where it just kind of was like, oh, okay, it's done.
Yeah, you just never know when it's going to happen. It's like lightning strikes. All right.
Okay.
So
Off topic.
this one's a bit long and requires context. So Lois A. Young asks, this is off topic somewhat, but do either of you have thoughts regarding Tom Shippey's comments in last weekend's The Wall Street Journal? I know I was referring to fantasy, but I'm curious about your responses. And then,
what are the comments? It sounds like he said something mean.
yeah, I didn't actually see the article.
Did a guy say something mean about fantasy?
Oh, he said fantasy is finally grown up.
Oh, okay. Well, I felt like that guy doesn't know anything about fantasy.
Step one, he needs to grow up. People like different things.
The editorial board of the Wall Street Journal probably needs to grow up too.
That's probably a safe bet.
I mean, if whoever approved that byline really just should have. You know what though? Here's what happened. I bet that guy called and said something really mean to the person who approved that byline. And he submitted his article, and they took one look at it, and they're like, "You're going to get roasted for this." It goes through.
I like that story. That's a good story.
Fantasy's finally grown up. I don't know what he's talking about. All right.
Let people like the things they like. It's really not that hard.
I know. Would you be interested in having your stories made into absolute comedy, even if they weren't meant to be? Yes. Yes. You know why? Because that's a movie based on my book.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, that's answer one. It's a movie based on my book. So if you were going to make my book into a comedy, it would definitely still be awesome. It could do like a Brooklyn Nine-Nine kind of thing. I don't know. Anyway,
yeah, I mean, I'm on board with that. That is fine by me.
It would be awesome. It would be so fun. I mean, like, yeah. Okay, so fun fact: the Dan O'Bannon, the guy who wrote Alien, originally wrote something else called Dark Star, which was a comedy, and Roger Corman, I think, paid for it. It was a low-budget comedy, and it has a lot of the same themes and ideas as Alien. Just it was a comedy, and
That's
it wasn't
awesome.
particularly. It wasn't like the right format really for that story. And so when you go and you look at Alien, you see the DNA of Dark Star in it. So the answer is, yeah, you can definitely do that to just about anything. Even if it's like tragic, it's like, oh, it's a tragic, heartwarming comedy. Guy dies at the end of Royal Tenenbaums, right? All right.
So, yep. Can you share some of your favorite creative outlets / hobbies outside of writing? And well, I mentioned the robots thing. I also sew a lot. Do a lot of sewing. Done a lot more recently since we've been stuck inside. Sewing.
What do you do again?
Sew.
Oh, I heard sail. I was like,
oh no.
Inside?
No, that would be a magic trick that I cannot do. No, I sew clothes and cross stitch primarily. Yeah.
So cool.
It's
so hard to do clothes.
It really is, and I like to do stretchy fabrics, which are just like the bane of all seamstresses' like lives. They're it's yeah. I don't know why I punish myself.
Like Lycra.
Yeah. Well,
over here, like, do you take orders? No, I'm just kidding.
I like Tinsel and Model for with jersey weaves, if that means anything to the people out there.
Those are hard to sew.
Soft and stretchy. What about you, Alex?
I like music. Okay, I guess. I like to do music. I really enjoy. I'm hoping to assemble a forge in my backyard so that I can do some blacksmithing. I've done it a couple of times and I really like it, and I'm quite good at it. But it's always kind of somebody else's forge. And I'd been hoping to join a co-op, but then COVID kind of precluded that, so I don't know if that's going to be possible. But I really like that. I like Formula One because it's for $6 a month I can watch the races, and they give the engineers a trophy, and they get to stand up there next to the racers and get the trophy. And the racers hose them down with champagne. It's great.
That's awesome.
yeah, the nerds get to hang out with the jocks, and of course, race car drivers have the reflexes of astronauts, and the incredible aerodynamic minds actually usually, and a lot of safety and interesting training. So it's a really interesting and intelligent and oftentimes problematic sport because it's still managed by a large governing body, and let's be real, those are always corrupt. What do you think, Megan? Oh wait, you did your hobbies. Sewing, yes.
Yep.
Do I? Is it me or you?
Oh, well, doesn't matter. This one's directed to you. Next one.
Oh,
You go for
well,
it.
the last time I was say this EB guy, he got us last time though, because he got us both. Alex, this
Oh,
is.
you did it again.
Okay, here we go. No, he got another question.
You got both of us in there. You go for it, Alex.
Okay, I'm gonna go to his 3-vote question.
Oh.
You're both pretty new in your writing careers. Aw, thanks. Are there any writing milestones you hope to achieve or are looking forward to? Yeah, I was always hoping to have a traditionally published science fiction space fantasy trilogy that I got to write without basically compromising at all. I mean, like, no, it was always teamwork. Breet and I don't think I ever rejected an edit. But it was kind of like one of those, like, whenever people talk about, oh, you lose your control in traditional publishing, I'm always like laughing because, that's not the relationship I have with my editor. But writing milestones I'm looking forward to. A movie option that we actually take. Because you get them. You get them.
Yeah. Varying quality.
A movie option is is essentially we're paying you not to sell this to somebody else for an X period of time, and it can be anything from $0 to $1 million. And you don't do any work for it. It's just don't do anything with this book, please. That seems really cool, but a movie is kind of one of my ultimate goals. I actually had put epic sci-fi trilogy from a major publisher way down where I thought I was. I needed new dreams. Actually, is the problem. I have a second trilogy coming out. I'd like to get on the bestsellers list for sure. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, bestsellers list would be awesome. Yeah, a movie option that actually was decent and panned out. That would be fantastic. Otherwise, like, I try to make
decade of heartache.
Yeah, I try to make goals. I try not to make goals that I have no control over. Generally speaking, like, I tell myself, okay, I'm gonna write X amount of books this year, and that's what I aim for. And then what happens happens. But I know, like, I did my thing. That is how I tend to look at writer goals. Is the stuff I can actually control? Otherwise, I will go insane. So.
Oh, yeah, I would also say, if I'm interpreting this as milestones, which are things where it's just like, this is where I am.
Yeah.
That was kind of what I was thinking.
Okay, well, like guest of honor at a con, if we ever have those again. That would be cool. Cool milestone.
That would be cool. Cons, get Megan. She'd be a great guest of honor. I think that Megan makes a great point, though, especially if you're an aspiring writer in the audience tonight, that you should definitely make sure that as you set your goals for yourself, that they are goals you can do yourself. I will submit to this many agents, I will write this many books, I will write this many words, are all reasonable things to say. Don't be mean to yourself when you don't hit them. It's probably your first try. Systems are usually bad, not the person inside the system. Adjust your system, adjust your KPIs, and maybe things will get better. Sorry, that was day job talk.
It's perfect.
The same kind of thing, though, is it is nice to have benchmarks, and a lot of my benchmarks are really arbitrary. Like somebody writes /fic or something, like don't.
I got that early on.
I'm not allowed to. Oh, lucky you.
Dean and Tibbs. I did not read it, but it was sent to
me. You're not allowed to read it.
No.
I see, and that's what makes it such a milestone for me, because it's literally just like fan fiction unlocked. Like it's an achievement. I don't get to read it. I don't have any. I better not, is really where it comes down to, because I'm not allowed. I would love to read it. I really wish I could, but I'm not going to. Yep. How about your question here?
Oh, do I have one?
It's a Josh Story question.
I'm only seeing.
I feel like Josh and
Okay.
Patricia's questions could be merged here. We've got, what are your favorite albums and soundtracks to write to, and what do you have
Oh,
certain
yeah.
playlists you listen to while you write? Megan.
I listen to a lot of industrial metal, so that is primarily what I listen to when I write. Three Teeth is what I'm really into right now. Specifically, listen to a lot of Tool, listen to a lot of Rammstein, and sort of like the broader metal world, a lot of Lamb of God and Trivium, Iron Maiden, of course, that kind of stuff. I don't find lyrics distracting. I know a lot of authors do, but for me, it's just I don't know. I think since I sort of came of age writing really, really terrible like role play stories on forums in like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would stay up until I don't like 3 in the morning. It was bad, but I'd stay up doing this with my headphones in, with my metal going, my White Zombie and my Rammstein, my Rage Against the Machine. And for me, that worked. So I sort of trained myself to do this. And at this point, it's completely natural. Like I absolutely need the loud screaming in my head. I don't know what that really says about me, but that's what I like.
It says you're fascinating. I love it. You should definitely pick up Velocity Weapon, listeners, watchers, viewers, readers. Definitely. Yeah, for me, I like to listen to a bunch of different stuff depending on what I'm writing, and it's always curated exactly by mood. So I have, kind of a romance writing music, and I have kind of a big dramatic action, and I have like a murder symphonic like Mad Max and stuff like that goes in there, And I've really though I really like a lot of jazz music, especially modal jazz, because it keeps my brain going without necessarily saying like you have to listen. But if I take a minute and I do, there's so much there to have, and I really appreciate that about it. Um, and so yeah, so of course Miles and Coltrane and all that other stuff. Everybody just go hit the Wikipedia article for modal jazz and start going down the list. If you want something that's a little bit more modern though, you might try Daniel Brandt, for example, who has a whole lot of kind of math focused, Philip Glass influenced Moog synth heavy jazz. You should give it a listen if you like weird crap like that. I love weird crap like that. So Daniel Brandt's album, particularly the song Flamingo. Okay.
Do you want to take the science fantasy question?
I guess I must, because yours is not a science fantasy. Alex, this series has been called a science fantasy, says EB, because it's set in space, but there's also magic. What inspired you to do that? Did I call that wrong? I'm sorry, Megan.
No,
There's no magic, right? I'm not misremembering. It has been like
no, there's no magic.
oh my god, my quote's on the front of the book, and I was like, oh, but it's been a couple of years, man. Like
I mean,
it's
any
been a couple of hard years.
science is indistinguishable from magic, right?
That's right. Did this make writing the book easier or harder? Megan, is there any genre blending in your series like this? Okay, so one of the things that always kind of not bothers me, it was always kind of funny to me, is that distinction between science and magic, because a lot of what I kind of reacted to in the Salvagers is kind of the use of magic in fantasy, right? You always kind of have this Dungeons and Dragons-y kind of thought about magic, like, oh, if I had magic, I would throw a fireball. It's like, I mean, when do you need to do that today? How often do you want to do that today? Probably not. And so I started to think of all these practical magics, right? Which I really enjoyed that movie as a kid. I don't know if it holds up. And I have a real romantic streak, in case you haven't read my stories yet. But yeah, it makes it a little harder, because you can accidentally render the magic mundane, and you have to kind of periodically remind the readers that, like, oh yeah, but it's also still magic, it's also still kind of wild to everybody, and that lack of control and that kind of ethereal nature of it is what makes it magic. So yeah, but I still, yeah, lots of rule systems and that kind of stuff. So I don't know, that's a hard question, because I don't feel like it changed it for me at all. Genre blending in your series.
Not so much in the Protectorate books. The Scorched Continent, a little more, sort of unintentionally. That was like my first trilogy, and I set out, I was like, I'm gonna write a secondary world fantasy. And then my publisher was like, this is steampunk. And then readers were like, this is science fantasy. And I was like, I don't know what I did, but I like it. So that one went a little like bendy genre-wise, definitely. I mean, it certainly has steampunk elements. There is flight, like actual airships, but no steam involved. Like the flight is all magic based, and it was, yeah, it was a weird place to be in genre-wise, for that series, but I love it.
I love Magitech.
Yeah,
Obviously.
I mean, yeah, Final Fantasy was really foundational for me, so that was just
Yeah.
perfectly natural.
Same. The second I saw the word Magitech, I was like, yeah, okay, that's cool. That's really cool, and I want to do it now.
I am on board with this.
Right. And then it only took like 30 years. It's fine.
Yeah. So you got there.
Let's take the next question.
Sure. Oh, Megan, you said you build robots. Would you make a robot based on your stories or design one? So a little backwards here. Actually, so the Grippy, there's this little like repair bot that runs around in Velocity Weapon and the rest of the books. He's got these sort of like eyes that they're not actually eyes because they're not cameras, but they're ultrasonic sensors basically. And there's absolutely no reason for him to have those technically. I liked them because of a robot I had made a long time ago. This was like my first really big, like, I want to make this really cool robot. And it was in high school, and it was a part of the NASA bot ball competition, which is going to mean something to, like, you know, the tiniest percent of the population.
I bet somebody freaked out about
it. Yeah. But they had these sensors, and I put it right on top because I was like, I want him to look like, you know, Johnny Five, right? I want him to be like the short circuit robot. And that robot made it to the competition. I spent months on it. He entered the course, and then a piece of like the actual course, it was a plastic cup, got stuck in the gear.
Oh.
And this was the seeding round, like the first seeding round, and the piece of the cup got stuck in the gear, and he kind of tore himself apart on the table. So I had an hour-long lunch to strip this robot down and rebuild two more smaller robots, because I split the CPU so I could do two instead of like the one big complicated one, and use like the most bare minimum programming I could think of with the parts I had left to still try and compete. And they barely fit in the start box, but they did, and they worked, and I actually ended up winning second place. So Grippy is sort of like my homage to that robot that self-destructed himself, but, you know, ended up supplying his parts for greater glory.
I love it. You have a robot friend that you lost along the way.
I mourn him.
Let's see here. Well, there's another question for you, Megan.
Oh, yep. Are there any LGBTQI characters in Megan's books? The answer is yes, absolutely. One of the primary points of view is bi. That becomes more evident in the second books. Santa's parents are gay. There's just, I mean,
they're
there's
so cute.
Yeah, I heard it described as, oh God, what was it? Queer norm or norm queer? Where just like people just sort of are what they are, and like it's not a thing that like specifically gets called out.
Like Star Trek.
Yeah, it's not like a plot point, right? It's not like being gay is a surprise. No, it's just people just exist, and they are just like in our world today. So there are characters that have different sexualities that aren't necessarily called out on the page because it doesn't come up during the course of their lives in the books. But there absolutely are quite a few that are on the page and named in as well. If that makes sense. I think I went in a circle there, but
no, I think that is a really good thing to call out, because I mean it is true though, you know, because when authors are like, yeah, they're in the book, I just didn't say anything about them ever. I think we're talking about a pretty specific person.
Yeah.
But Not even gonna go into the trademark territory there. We'll just not say any words that could be trademarked.
Nope.
Okay. There we go. So now, yeah.
So Evan Winters is asking
Oh.
us, what do you wish more readers knew about publishing?
Mm,
Do you want to take that, Alex?
yes. I wish more readers knew the number of people who really do work on books, and especially how much work that they put in, and how much work goes into a book that's not the writing. A writer's a small part of a team. A book costs a fortune to publish, a fortune to distribute and promote, and to keep those people in that skyscraper they're not currently in. And so I wish that more readers understood also the value of an editor, and didn't buy into the myth that a writer and an editor are in any way adversaries. I do not have that relationship with any editor. I would not abide that relationship with any editor. So
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think we both Bree, the same editor, right?
oh yes. Oh
Yeah,
well, yeah.
yeah,
Bree and I jump in front of a train for Bree, so
yeah, amazing. We really like that.
And Nivea, I lucked out. See, I got two good editors. Yeah,
You're so
and
spoiled.
I know, and Angeline is going to be working on my next series, so I'm really excited for that. Yeah, I am totally spoiled. You're not wrong. Super lucky. I love Orbit.
They're fantastic. I could not be happier with them right now.
What do you wish readers knew?
Well, aside from the takes a village part, this story takes as long as it takes. Like sometimes writers are going to take a little while to finish things, and that's okay. I know I'm a little faster than normal in the trad world anyway, but I know there's a lot of writers out there, especially right now. COVID has really screwed everything up for a lot of people, so there are going to be delays, and that's fine because there will still be more books coming out. Like the fire hose of fiction is never going to stop. So it's okay to wait a little longer to get the story that the writer actually wants to tell.
And also, maybe the writer's not doing their best work during COVID. No, I'm just kidding. Like it I'm not going to ever turn in anything that I wouldn't like be extraordinarily happy to put my name on. But that means that there might be delays. COVID is hard. It's hard on you psychologically.
Yeah.
Especially if you have kids.
So much of it is just completely out of your control. Like I know a friend of mine had her book pushed back a couple weeks because the printer literally couldn't print it in time. They just couldn't get to it. So there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Just let that one go.
Yep.
A funny story from your writing journey. What is a funny story from your writing journey? I'm hilarious, obviously. So, yeah, no, I mean, okay. So I will tell you that when I met William Gibson, it was odd because I was kind of the first person in line, and it was kind of weirdly by accident. I was standing in line for my panel at New York Comic Con. Not standing in line for my own panel. I was waiting for my panel. That's what I meant to say. And the autograph table was out there on the way to the celebrity bathroom, which if you ever get invited to be at a Comic-Con as a guest, you should go to the celebrity bathroom because you're going to pass somebody from television, but you won't know who they are. So you can't say hi. It's just like a zoo. Anyway, so I got back from there and I was like, oh, I need to locate my signing. This is where it is. Okay, it's exactly here. This is great. There's a guy sitting there. I wonder who that is. And I just kind of looked and there's nobody. There's nobody in line in front of him. This is just a nice old guy. And this he's not even, yeah. Anyway, sorry, William Gibson. And an assistant. And this guy's like standing by the sign next to me. And I'm like, is that William Gibson? And he's like, no, there's nobody in line. And I was like, exactly. That can't be. I don't know why I would have thought that. I would know what William Gibson looks like. I am a writer. And so I was like Googling what William Gibson looks like. And after a minute, I was like, holy crap, there he is. That's really him. And so I went up and I was like, what do you say to William Gibson that's not trite, that like would mean something to him? Because one of the things that's always really awkward and kind of wonderful is when somebody comes up and they've been really moved by your work and they tell you how much it's meant to them, and you want to have a reciprocal amount of emotion for them. And you've been kind of blasting your reciprocal emotion out for years now. And so maybe they're like, your work meant a lot to me. And you're like, yeah, it's you. And so I went over there and I was like, hey, your pattern recognition and neuromancer were really big books for me. They kind of changed the way that I approached plot pacing. And I was like, so you inspired me to become a writer in a lot of ways. And he's like, great, kind of awesome, because he had that look that I have had, less though, because I'm not nearly as famous. I'm not William Gibson. So anyway, it's just like once, but it was that look, believe me. Anyway, so then I'm like, okay, well, I'll say something else that's not trite. And I was like, I always wanted to curt a calculator, which if you've read pattern recognition, that's every third person who speaks to William Gibson says that one. And then so lastly, I was just like, well, it's great to meet you. And then I left. And that was when I was like, wait, we're both aliens writers. I was supposed to say that.
Oh.
And so I ended up tweeting the story, and he responded on Twitter and was like, thanks, I remember you. So he's really nice. He's exactly like that. You're like, what is the wisdom? He's like, how's it going?
That's awesome.
Why are you acting weird? And I'm like, because it's fine. What about you? You got a good celebrity encounter?
Oh gosh, I don't really know. I mean, nothing funny. I think I can tell you the story. Okay, so here is a funny story. My agent originally, Sam Morgan, was at Jabberwocky Literary, which is run by Joshua Bilmes. And when I signed with Sam, Sam was a junior agent, just sort of starting out. So I was signing with Sam and Joshua. And I met them at World Fantasy Con. We decided we were going to talk about the offer letter there, right? So I went to World Fantasy Con in DC. I was already going. And Joshua made it. Sam couldn't make it. And Joshua comes up to me and he's like, okay. He's like, so we could do the fancy dinner with the fancy signing, or we could do what I want to do and go get pancakes at IHOP because they're almost out of the pumpkin. I was like, Joshua Bilmes, okay, yeah, no, I'm getting pumpkin pancakes. Here we go.
Sounds way more fun.
Yeah, and this was Crystal City, DC, so I guess it's kind of like on the edge over by the airport, and they'd just done a ton of construction. And Joshua was very sure that he knew where the IHOP was. I lost confidence fairly quickly when we were walking through the middle of a construction zone in the middle of the night searching for this IHOP. We went, I think, probably a mile out of our way. I don't know. We did this like big loop thing. We did finally find the IHOP though.
Oh, I bet those pancakes were good.
We got the pumpkin pancakes and I signed the letters.
So funny.
We did it, but it was quite the evening, to say the least.
Megan, I would like you to give our viewers a book recommendation.
Is this because you're thinking?
No. Okay. No, okay.
I've got it. So Essa Hansen's Nofic Gloss is coming out. Oh shoot, is it spring of 2021? I can't remember the date. Anyway,
I don't know. Essa, are you there?
It's imminent. November of this year. Thank you, Orbit Chatbot.
November 17th.
November 17th. And it is a fantastic book. I've blurbed it. It's really imaginative. Like, it takes you places in space opera that you have not seen before. It is very cool, and you will love it a lot, I think. Especially if you like our books, you will definitely like Essa's book.
It is on my TBR for sure. It is super cool. Glass spaceships, lots of fun stuff. I have to strongly recommend Micaiah Johnson's The Space Between Worlds. That book is fantastic. If you ever wondered what would happen if we cracked the multiverse, she has a dark corporate colonization theory for you that you should read.
That's great.
It's amazing, pulls no punches. It's a fantastic work. And Makai is, of course, a fantastic person. So, all right. Well, I think that is us. So I'm gonna say thank you very much for coming to see us.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us. Really appreciated seeing your tiny icon faces.
Yes, I liked all the chats and stuff. I kept forgetting to read the chat. This is like
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
new to the online.
Yeah, thank you for your questions too. It's a lot of fun.
Oh yes, these were really great questions. Evan.